I want us to do this together, so we just need to cut a day off. So first thing first that I want to do is we want to go to the higher time frame. In this case, let's go to the daily time frame to see what price is likely to do. Now, first thing first, as you can see right here, this is more like a break of structure on the daily, and this looks like an inducement. So automatically we have this as draw on liquidity, and we also have this high as potential draw on liquidity, because usually when price wants to move, it moves from one key level to another key level. So after an inducement is taken, the high that created the inducement tends to be the high price wants to target. So in this case, this was the inducement and this is the high that took out the inducement. So because of that, this potentially becomes our target. However, it doesn't mean that price will have to come all the way up here and take this high. No, price can decide to come and take out minor liquidities or even intermediate liquidities before this external liquidity. But the most important thing here is that you know exactly where price is likely to go next. So this is an idea of what we are likely to do. Now, this also doesn't mean that price or we cannot trade a counter trend, or we cannot trade bearish if we are bullish. This depends on what we see on the lower time frame. Now, on this time frame, we cannot see a Malaysian support and resistance rejection, as it were, on this whole area. There's no such thing like that on this time frame, except probably this particular open and close that was broken previously. So in this case, what can we do? We can go to a 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, we want to identify key levels as well, because key levels are very important when it comes to making decisions in trading, especially when we are trading the MSNR system. So by implication, what can we find here? We see that price previously rejected from this level, right? And we see a breakout at this level, and this is also rejecting from this level as well. So this is a traditional classic MSNR key level. So because it's an MSNR key level, what do? It means that we are working with the 4-hour storyline. So automatically we want to see at least a 1-hour breakout. And as you can see, do we have the breakout already? Obviously, you can see we have the breakout here. So this becomes our change in state of delivery. That is what I call it. And of course, that's an ICT concept. Now, also, if you notice this area, we have the Komepips iCRT. What do we see here? We have this CRT, traditional CRT, and of course, the CRT failed. So because it failed, this becomes the Komepips iCRT. So because it's an iCRT, we have an additional confluence that price might likely respect the zone. So what zone is this? This is the whole zone that we are going to look out for selling opportunity. However, we're not just going to enter blindly, but rather we need to wait for some sort of inducement and sort of manipulation. So what to do that, we need to go to our X3 or X4 time frame. Now, our X time frame is the bias time frame. Our X2 time frame is the breakout time frame. In this case, is the 1-hour time frame, and our X3 time frame becomes the 30-minute time frame, and X4 time frame becomes the 15-minute time frame. Usually, the X4 time frame is an optional time frame for us to use, which we can use to pick our inducement. Now, having said this, we'll go to the 30 minutes or 15 minutes, as it were, to look for any sort of inducement for any of our key level right here. Now, what can we see here? We have this as a form of inducement, right? These are inducement that we have already on the 30 minutes. As you can see, this is really obvious, not just an ordinary inducement. This is also called the Komepips chariot inducement. Now, don't get confused, it's the same thing. However, when we talk about the Komepips chariot inducement, we're talking about inducement legs that trade into a PD arrays. So PD array, in this case, we're talking about fair value gap. Of course, there are other PD arrays, but in this scenario, we're talking about fair value gap. So the implication of this is that we want price to come and take this level and even potentially this fair value gap high. Why? Because this is what I call the chariot inducement. So I'll give you a little bit of recap here before we move on to the entry path. First, we had a 4-hour reject 4 hours. We had a 1-hour breakout, which gave us a change in state of delivery right here. That's 1-hour breakout. And of course, we have our inducement here already, which lapped into a PD array, premium discount array, which in this case becomes a fair value gap, and we want price to take out that high. So what do? The next point of action is we need to go to the 1-hour time frame. In this case, this becomes our X2 time frame. So our X2 time frame is where we want to look for our key level. So after this inducement, where are the potential zones we want to look for sales? Of course, we have one here. So let's use this. We have a level here. We have another one here, and we have another one here. So these are various levels that we have. These are various levels that we have potential areas we want to enter from. So this is the breakout. This is the open close that failed the OCL level, and this is the apex level, which is more of high probability. Now, which one are you going to use? Pay attention. The one you are going to use is usually the one closest to the inducement. However, with the Komepips iCRT concept, it's very easy for you to know the key level that price we likely want to use. So how do we identify that? So I'll take this off again. Remember, this candle is part of our key levels. So this candle is the only iCRT. So you see, using the traditional MSNR by the whatever it is, wherever it came from, the Alchemist, whatever name they call it, it doesn't really matter. The name doesn't matter. The most important thing is the concept on how it works. So the reason why I use names is because, for example, personally, I use names and I use colors so that I can have an accurate understanding of what I'm doing, so that when I see, for example, a chariot inducement, I know where price will likely want to use. And when I see an iCRT, I know where price will likely want to use. Do you understand? So these are some things you will need to understand if you really want to learn MSNR in-depthly. Now, having said that, we have this key level closest to inducement, which we'll need to enter from. However, look at this. This is our iCRT, and this is the whole zone for the iCRT level. So in this scenario, what do? I'm going to wait for price to, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to pick a zone inside my iCRT zone level. So in this scenario, where is it? Now, take note that usually iCRT price can choose to use the wick, the 50%, and even towards the closure of that candle. So in this case, which key level is closest to that is at premium level? Remember, we are selling, so we need to pick from the premium level. So we are now left with just 2 instead of 4. So we are left with 2 to make our decisions from. So we have this and we have this one. Now, which one are you going to take your entry from? You can decide to take your entry from any of those 2 and you will be accurate. If you decide to take your entry from here, you are going to be accurate as well. Okay, and your stop loss can be a little bit there, and if you are quite aggressive, then like me, then your stop loss can be a little bit below there. Now, you can as well decide to use this level as your key level. Okay, you can decide to use this level as your key level, you will also be accurate. So in this scenario, I think we should just use this apex as our key level. So let's do that. So we'll put that and probably increase our stop loss. Let's put it right there. And where is your target going to be? Your target have to be in an opposing swing point. So this is the one created already. So that's where your target needs to be potentially. Now we have a new swing point. So our target can now be the zone. Now you could say, okay, why are we not targeting all the way through? No, we don't have to be that greedy. Okay. Also remember that we are coming from just the 4-hour storyline. So because we are coming from 4-hour storyline, we don't know what price might likely do. Price might just decide to use or take this liquidity and go up. We don't know if the liquidity price will come all the way through. So we want to trade what we see. So remember this, always trade what you see and not what you think. React to price. So for example, I have my sell limit order now. If I see a buying opportunity, I'm going to think twice. With the buy likelihood, with the sell likelihood. So this is where I now make decisions and try to cancel out a lot of arguments. Okay, so let's play price and see exactly what we have. So as you can see, price kind of took out that liquidity, you see, and tends to use the wick of this iCRT. However, because we are using the MSNR key level, we are not going to pick that directly. All right, now if I were to be using the iCRT/MSNR, then I could consider the zone, and of course I may likely give us multiple examples on that sometime in this video. Okay, so as you can see, we have a very nice tap from that level, and that was a very fast push to the downside. So if you enter the trade from there, that's about 1-7 risk to reward ratio, and if you had entered from here, that's about 1-5 risk to reward ratio. So you see, it's also a win-win situation. Now there are times that price may not get here. Okay, now how do you know if price will not get here? You don't know 100%. However, let me teach you how to have a glimpse of whether price will get there or not. Now, one of the way you will have a glimpse whether price will get there or not is when you find your iCRT and you check the iCRT, the wick and the body, which one is longer. If the wick is longer, then price will likely trade above higher, a little bit higher. And if the body is longer, then probably price will not, or price will respect the lower or the higher part of the iCRT level. So I don't know if it's quite clear. Okay, so feel free, ask your question in the comment section below. And for those of you who are not my free Telegram channel, check the video description to join my Telegram channel, because there are a lot of things you really want to learn. Now let's keep moving, because I want to show you something interesting. Meanwhile, please like the video in case you've not done that. Now this is another opportunity. Let's look for potential opportunities where we can look for entries. Now remember that price had already swept this liquidity and even went beyond and swept all of this liquidity. Now anytime you see that liquidity is swept, two things are going to happen. Price will either stall or price will reverse. Usually that's what will happen. It will either consolidate or retrace or even reverse totally. Okay, so this is very, very important. All right, so having said that, what do we have here? We have a change in state of delivery to the upside from here. Why? Because we see that price are taking a PD array from here and also respecting an MSNR key level. However, this is a 1-hour key level. You don't want to be picking your MSNR key levels from the 1 hour. You need to go to the 4-hour time frame to pick that your levels. Okay, so in this case, let's assume we'll go to the 4-hour time frame. Now on the 4-hour time frame, you can see where price is reacting from, even though price had mitigated this multiple times. However, if you notice that price mitigated this level with the same candle color, so this is what we call the double confirmation, which is CC. Okay, so we'll not talk about that right now. I have videos on that on this channel already. So because of this, we can decide to say, okay, we want to look for sales. Now also take note of something. Price also reacted from this above key level. So what you need to do is you need to eliminate one. And how will you do that? By breakout. So out of these two, which one do we have our breakout on? Of course, this one, we have our breakout here already. So which means this level might not likely hold. It could hold. However, we are trading, remember, we are trading what we are seeing already. So in this scenario, what do? Let's shift this. So remember now, what is our X time frame in this scenario? Our X time frame remains the 4-hour time frame, and our X2 time frame becomes a 1 hour, which is the breakout time frame. So what exactly are we going to look for? We look for inducement. Yes, inducement on 30 minutes or 15 minutes. So in this case, this becomes our inducement. This becomes our inducement, and of course, where is our key level? We need to go to the breakout time frame. Always remember this. So the breakout time frame is this. This is the most available key level. But there's something I want to spot out here. If you notice, in this scenario, there's no iCRT formed yet. Right? We don't have any iCRT formed yet. So this entry is strictly based on MSNR key level. However, if we go to the lower time frame, probably we could see something exactly just like what I just stated. You can see that on the 30 minutes, we have our iCRT right there. So we have this as a CRT and CRT failure. So this becomes our iCRT. So which implies that this old key level is where this old candle is where we want to look for our potential buy opportunity. You see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if you look at this other candle and the way this candle formed, they are not the same thing. If you notice that this candle have more like they have part of the candle is weak, while the other half is the body. So this is why it is even more confident to take 50% of the iCRT candle. Okay, and if I do that, you see that's exactly what price used, and beyond that, it's also in line with the one MSNR key level, right? So because of that, probably this could increase your confidence. All right, it could increase your confidence, and you put your stop loss. You could use, of course, you could use your MSNR, and depending on your risk appetite. Now, usually I know that this whole zone is my zone, so put your stop loss below there and target. This is the nearest high you want to target. All right, of course, this is the nearest high to target because this is the nearest liquidity, and followed by this, and we have this, and we also have this one higher. So you must learn how not to be greedy. Try to take whatever the market gives to you and move on. Do you understand? So in this case, let's say you knew, because sometimes this is what I do. I will pick my tool right here. This is my gun box, and I'll draw this and use, you see that I have two box inside. Let me remove this so that you can see that box very well. So I have two box inside. So what I do, I can decide to say, okay, this is where I want to use for my entry, and I can draw that again. And if I draw that again, the next 50% will potentially be my stop loss. All right, so I don't do that every time, but I do it often. All right, so the next important thing that we want to pay attention to is what exactly is price doing. Remember that we are looking for our key level on what? On the 1 hour time frame. Why is that? Because that's our breakout time frame. So if we have entered the trade already, then of course your 1 to 4, 1 to 5, you would have taken profit or take something out. However, you want your full target to be hit, then of course that's your full target. And of course, don't neglect MSNR key levels. Price can decide to reverse from those zones even if you are correct. All right, so that is exactly what we have on this particular scenario. So let's play price and wait for further setups. Now you see our price came in and tapped in nicely and moved on. Now there is something I call double confirmation, though this double confirmation is not found on this time frame. However, let's check the 30-minute time frame if we are going to see something like that. Yes, we saw it and price had already used it. Probably that's why it came to take out this inducement. However, you must also understand that you are not 100% in control of the market. I always tell people, and I always say that the market is king, and we traders, we are his kingsmen. So we do what the market is telling us to do. So that's exactly what you should learn as well. Okay, so let's check, and probably let me see if I could give us one more example before we look for potentials entries. Now also take note of this. We have an iCRT already. So this is my iCRT. Let's see if we could look for an iCRT setup. Okay, and maybe I will show us when it failed and why it failed if we have a failure setup. So for example, we have this as an iCRT level. So we come to the 15-minute time frame. So in this case, the 15-minute time frame becomes our X2 time frame, because this is the time frame we're using to look for our confirmations. So what can we find here? This is an iCRT here, and I want price to come and mitigate that level before I start looking for any other opportunity, if I will continue the buys or not. Now as you can see, we have that nice tap on the 15 minutes. So having seen that, the next thing I want to wait for is 5 minutes. 5 minutes in this case becomes my X3 time frame. So I want to wait for my iCRT to form, which I already found right here. And of course, what I would do, I would love to use the 50% of this. Why? Because the wick is longer than the body. Now, is this 100%? No. And this is why I'm showing you this live, so that you have an understanding. By the way, for those of you who are not following me yet on all my social media platforms, I often go live with the people with my community, and I send live updates. So this is not just an inside stuff. If you check my Telegram channel, and you will see that it's not just an insight, it's something that we do practically. So don't just say because I'm teaching you, or I'm using a foresight to teach you. Of course, I'm using foresight to teach you because you will need to understand what I'm explaining. However, in real market, the same way I'm teaching you, that is exactly how I will apply it. Okay, so you might want to follow me on my social media platforms. Okay, so let's see exactly what price does. Now, what if this fails? This bias is totally solid until this zone is violated for me. Okay, and you see price tabs, they open the open of the week and decide to continue. It happens like that. So sometimes you miss your setups. Yes, this is why beyond you learning, you need to go to check you need to go and do your own research and back testing. So this is the actual liquidity, first liquidity. No, this is the first liquidity rather. And of course, this liquidity is very close to price, right? So automatically, this becomes our next area of value. Do you understand? So that becomes our next area of value. So if price get there, of course, I told you never neglect the area of key levels. If price get there, it means price can decide to do anything. So for this particular setup, that's exactly what we are reacting on. We are reacting based on the current setup that we are seeing, right? So as you can see, price went and pushed up, and of course that liquidity zone have been taken out. Okay, there's something else I forgot to point out, which probably it was an oversight. Notice that we also have another MSNR, or rather we also have another iCRT right here. This is the iCRT. Yeah, and where the price use the 50% of that zone. and you see that's exactly where price used. All right, so let's assume we did not see that. What I'm showing you is I'm literally showing you how you could, you could get the best out of the market per time, because until you learn some of these things, you might not really have a full control of the market. And of course, remember that we don't necessarily have full control of the market. However, we know exactly what we're looking for. So this could potentially be another setup for us if price comes here. So this is the iCRT setup. All right, this is an iCRT setup. So we have a tap on the 1 hour. So 15 minutes, we need to look for a potential zone that price might want to use. And of course, as you can see, we have an iCRT here on the 15 minutes. So this becomes my X2 time frame iCRT. So since price did not violate it, all I need is for price to move up and take out this high, and that's exactly what price just did. Okay, so let's check if there would have been an opportunity on the lower time frame. Of course, probably not. There is no opportunity right here on the lower time frame. Okay, sometimes it happens like that. And of course, I love waiting for at least 3 time frame confirmations, because it tends to give me a higher confidence that okay, price might likely want to push up. Okay, so of course we have a CRT here. Let's check this candle together. We have, yes, we actually have a setup, and that's an iCRT right there. So we have an iCRT right there, and what do? We use 50%. So if I'm using 50%, what would that likely be? To be around the zone like this, right? And stop loss below this particular iCRT level. Target, this becomes the nearest target. And of course, if you are not comfortable to 1 to 2, just extend to 1 to 3. And of course, this is the next target. Remember, I also said don't neglect the areas of key levels. You see, this is exactly how you trade and how you can use the Komepips iCRT to trade the traditional MSNR levels. And believe me, if you can master this, it's going to change and increase your confidence level. It's going to change and increase your confidence level. Okay, so I don't want you to be asking, oh, then why did this? Go and study. Watch this video over and over again. If you notice, I've been taking my time to explain all of these things to you, because I actually want you to learn. So I really don't want this video to be too long, because I noticed some of you are always complaining on the comment that, oh, long videos, I don't want to watch, but you see, how will you learn? It's okay. So that will be it for today. Meanwhile, in case you want to join the Komepips Academy, which is my mentorship, feel free to reach out to me on Telegram. Now, I'm also offering one-on-one mentorship. Yes, if you want a one-on-one mentorship, you want me to show you everything step by step, then of course reach out to me as well. And of course, most of you on YouTube, I know you are not my Telegram. Please go and join my Telegram. Don't just be my YouTube subscribers. Go to my Telegram, follow me, and engage on what's happening. And if you're on Twitter, you're on X, please follow me on X. I'm just trying to see how we can grow our X account. All right, so of course my mentorships are available to anyone that wants it. Okay, so in case you also want to be getting free setups, like I said, it's all available on my Telegram channel. All right, but if you want fast growth, then my mentorship is what you need. Yes, you actually need my mentorship in 2026, and I'm very sure and confident that there's no way you join my mentorship that in 3 months your trading will change. Believe me,